From isn't just a creepy little horror show about monsters scratching at your window at night. It's way bigger than that. Everything in this town, the collapsing roads, the smiling demons, even the voices in people's heads, it's all part of a system. And the more we've seen, the more obvious it becomes. Somebody somehow built this place. There's someone running the game. There has to be. And with season 3 ending the way it did, I think we're finally starting to see who's pulling the strings. So today I'm breaking down what From is really building towards, what the man in yellow means, and how this entire nightmare might actually end. If you've made it this far into From, you definitely know the basics by now. People drive down a road, they can't get out, and suddenly they're stuck in this nightmare town where the sun sets and the monsters come out to play. The only thing keeping everyone alive are those mysterious talismans that somehow make the creatures stay outside, which we still have no answer to why that's the case, but on the surface it looks like just 101 horror survival. But 3 seasons in, the show's been dropping little breadcrumbs that tell us there's way more going on here. We've got Victor's drawings of events he shouldn't know, Boyd's parasite infection, the boy in white guiding certain people, the voices whispering commands, and now this figure, the man in white, showing up to kill Jim. All of it's pointing toward a bigger design, and that's where my theory comes in. Here's the thing though, From isn't random horror. This town is a system, a cage, and everything inside of it is engineered to keep people trapped and terrified. Think about it, the looping roads and the collapsing routes, that's not supernatural fog, that's a failsafe. The monsters, they're not just some feral demons. They act like predators with rules baked into them. They mock, they taunt, they only come out at night, and they can't step past a talisman. Then you've got the talismans themselves. They're not some ancient magic. They feel like cheat codes, almost like leftover tools from people who've been through this cycle before. Somebody either built them or figured out how to bend the rules of the system. And the voices like Sarah hearing commands, Boyd losing his mind in visions, that's just manipulation. Somebody's pulling the strings trying to force certain outcomes. And what about time itself? Victor's drawings show events from the past and the future. People stumble into town from completely different eras. It's like reality itself is stitched together from scraps. And to me, that just doesn't scream haunted village. It screams pocket dimension. And Boyd's parasite infection, that wasn't random either. That felt like an experiment, seeing if humans can mutate each other or evolve in the system. So what does this all mean, all of the stuff that I'm saying? To me, it means From is building toward a reveal that the town is a controlled environment, like a lab or maybe a prison. Somebody, whether it's aliens, extra-dimensional beings, whatever, call them whatever you want, I really don't care what you call them, created this nightmare as a way to study humans. How far can you push people before they break? Do they turn on each other, or do they hold on to their humanity no matter what? That's the real question at the heart of this show. But let's break this down with some actual examples, because the show isn't subtle about this if you line everything up. First, the boy in white. He pops up as this almost angelic figure, guiding people, especially the kids. But notice how selective he is? He doesn't just show up for everyone. He's nudging the story in a certain direction, almost like a handler trying to keep the experiment on track. Second, the monsters. Their rules are way too specific. They can't enter without an invitation. They only come out at night, and when they kill, they play with people. They grin. They taunt. That's sadistic, not animalistic, which makes me think they're constructs built to torture more than to feed. Third, Victor's drawings. He sketched events across different timelines, things that he couldn't have possibly witnessed, which suggests that this place isn't exactly linear. It's stitched together from different eras, maybe even recycled realities. And that explains why people come from completely different decades all end up in the same town. And that explains why people from completely different decades all end up in the same town. Fourth, Boyd's infection with the worms. That wasn't a random curse. That felt like another phase in the experiment. Like, what happens if we infect the human subject? Do they mutate? Do they adapt? The fact that it almost killed him but didn't completely says the system is testing boundaries. And finally, Jim's death by the man in yellow. This was not just a regular murder, at least not in the same sense that the monsters do. Jim was the only one trying to outthink the system. He was building theories, poking at at weak spots, reaching out to the radio. And then suddenly this figure shows up. Not a mindless monster, like I said, but a deliberate executioner, and takes him out. To me, honestly, that screams system enforcer. The man in yellow is like, I guess you could call it like the warden of a prison. Step too far out of line and you're gone. So when you put all of that together, I think it paints a pretty clear picture. From is less about surviving monsters and more about surviving a game that was designed to break people. Now, I know there's probably some people who think that this is purgatory, like a hell on earth, and honestly, I do get that. The religious imagery is definitely everywhere in the show. The monsters look like demons, the talismans feel biblical, and the whole you can't leave until you face your sins angle is baked into the show's DNA just from the start. But here's why I don't buy that as the full answer. If this was just hell or purgatory, the rules wouldn't be so mechanical. The monsters wouldn't need invitations. Radios wouldn't mysteriously pick up voices. Talismans wouldn't act like glitches in a video game. All of these mechanics scream system design, not divine punishment. That said, to those of you who think that it is purgatory, I would say if it is purgatory, the man in yellow is basically the angel of death. He's not there to feed like the monsters, he's there to enforce, really. Essentially to end the game when someone pushes too far. Either way, whether you lean sci-fi experiment or biblical purgatory, the role he plays is still the same. He's the warden, the guy who reminds you the house always wins, like you're at a fucking casino. So where does all of this lead? To me, From is building toward a reveal that this town isn't just some cursed backwoods trap. It's a pocket reality, a lab, a prison maybe, something built and maintained by a higher intelligence. Whether that's aliens, extra-dimensional beings, or something we don't even have the words for yet. The monsters, they're the system's attack dogs, basically. The talismans, they're relics, leftover cheat codes from past cycles. And the man in yellow, he's the warden, sent in to make sure no one breaks the rules. And if my theory is correct, then that makes Jim a pretty important character, because so far he's been the only one to call it like it is. And when push comes to shove, when he flew too close to the sun, he was punished. But here's the thing, as terrifying as all of that is, the story isn't about who's pulling the strings. It's about whether the people trapped here can hold on to their humanity when everything is designed to strip it away. That's the real test. That's what makes From more than just a regular horror show. So I'll leave you with this. Are we watching aliens test humanity in a giant lab experiment? Or are these people literally trapped in purgatory, with the man in yellow acting as the angel of death? And more importantly, if you were in From, would you keep fighting or would you give up? Like, I still go back and forth on this all the time, and I would love to hear from you. But with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. I plan to be covering From in its entirety in season 4. I hope as well to get more actors and actresses on to do interviews like I did with Avery Conrad. And if you didn't see that one, be sure to click up here because I did a full interview with her. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.